Hello, this is A Automotive Reviews. And today we have the Ford Bronco versus the Bronco Sport. Now, the baby Bronco is a chip off the block. Ours is a pretender. After several delays due to the health crisis, Ford has unveiled the 2021 Ford Bronco and the Ford Bronco Sport SUV on the same day, which is bound to cause some confusion among car shoppers. Ford has created an off-road brand with the Bronco name, but these two vehicles are completely different, except for the horse badge and the tough guy boxy design. So let's compare and contrast the two Broncos so you know what to look for when you start shopping. Now, what's the difference? Now, in the Bronco, the chassis is a body-on-frame truck base, traditional SUV with longitudinal mounted engine, based on the next generation Ford Ranger pickup truck. And that's the Bronco. But the Bronco Sport is based on the transverse engine front wheel drive base unitized body and chassis Ford Escape crossover. These are typically described as car-based SUVs, but as Ford doesn't sell sedans anymore, the description unibody will have to suffice. Now, with the suspension on the Bronco, it gets a control arm front suspension and an optional front anti-roll bar disconnect device to facilitate maximum suspension articulation. At the rear is a live axle located by the trailing arms, also called the radius arm, or the rods, and a pin hard rod, along with a series of off-road options like locking front and rear differentials and substantial underbody armoring. Let's take a look at some pictures, and then let's get back into the Bronco Sport. This is the tie downs in the back of the regular Bronco to tie down your cooler. And this right here is just the open ear view from the back. We're just going to take a look at some pictures, and I'm going to go through this, just go through this slowly so you can look and absorb, and then we'll get back onto the Bronco Sport. So it's going to be a minute. Again, this is the Ford Bronco. This is the outside of the Ford Bronco, of course you can see that. This is the outside view of the Ford Bronco with the hard top. And this right here is the Bronco Sport, and this right here are the two Broncos. They both have that rugged appeal. This is the Bronco Sport, and these are the two Broncos. Of course, the Bronco Sport and the two Broncos. The 4-door and the 2-door. Bronco Sport. And these are the three Bronco Sports. Bronco Sport doing some off-roadings and going through the water and the mud. That's the interior of the Bronco Sport, much similar to the Ford Escape. And that's the GOAT mode, the Go Anywhere Terrain vehicle with the GOAT modes. Here, just in case you don't know, the cup holders, and here's the parking brake and the auto braking. And this is a 4-wheel drive and the 4 high and the many different features. Back seat room. Now the Bronco Sport retains the Escape basic fully independent front strut and rear multi-link suspension design, though the springs and dampers are new and the control arm and knuckles have been revived to increase track width, suspension travel, and ground clearance. The Bronco Sport unibody construction with independent suspension should deliver a smoother ride than the Bronco more off-road capable setup. You see the back seat space is a lot more tight on the Bronco Sport. And of course you got a place to put your belongings underneath. And a place to keep your electronics dry and out of sight and out of mind. Cup holders, flashlight holders, and all of that. This is the again the Bronco Sport. Got a place to keep your bikes. You got the nice setup. Some Bronco Sport seats. Now again, the engines. Now the Bronco offers a choice of 2.3-liter turbocharged EcoBoost 4-cylinder that delivers 270 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque, and also a 2.7 twin turbocharged EcoBoost V6 that cranks 310 to 400 foot-pounds of torque. Now the Bronco Sport shares the Escape 2 turbocharged gas engines, the 1.5-liter EcoBoost 3-cylinder and 181 horsepower, and 190 foot-pounds of 2.0-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, which is good for 245 horsepower and 275 foot-pounds of torque. Now the Bronco offers a choice of a new to Ford, the Get Drag 7MT 1550 7-speed manual gearbox, and it features a super low granny gear. The first ratio for extreme rock crawling. Our Ford's version of excellent 10-speed automatic co-developed with the General Motors. Now the Bronco Sport shares the Ford Escape 8-speed automatic across the range. Now, Bronco offers 2 transfer cases. As far as the 4-wheel drive, you can get the electric shift on the fly unit from the Ford F-150. That offers the 2 high and 4 high and 4 low and neutral. Now, the low range gearing in the Bronco implementation is 2.72 to 1. The optional upgraded version features electromechanical shifting, has a full-time 4 auto mode, and it comes with 3.06 to 1 low range. Now paired with a locking front and rear differential in the 4 high and the 4 low modes in either case, which effectively locks the center diff. Now the big Bronco offers serious traction, which again we talked about earlier, the goal over any terrain mode. Now, settings include normal, eco, sport, slippery, sand, baja, mud, and rock crawl. The later automatically manage the differential locks, the anti-roll bar disconnect system, traction stability control programming, etc. Now, the Bronco Sport also offers two transfer cases. They actually power takeoff units. Neither includes a low range nor even a creeper transmission gear. Both can send between 0 to 50% of the available engine torque to the rear wheels when the front wheels slip. Now, the base system gets a typical rear differential, while the upgraded system features a simple level gear driving half shafts fitted with multiple clutches that engage drive to each rear wheel. The system can provide torque vectoring. It also gets the water cooling for the power takeoff units, though base units get special ducting that provide air cooling of the PTU. Now, this does, however, represent an upgrade from the Escape. All sports get the normal, eco, and the sport and the slippery and sand terrain mode setting. The Badland models also get the goat mode, rock crawl, and the mud and rut, each of which get dedicated brake calibrations to ensure stability. Nannies never prevent the forward progress. Now, as far as the body work, the Bronco is all about the Max Air, offering 3 hard and soft top designs, each of which offers various configurations between fully open and fully closed, plus removable doors, which can be stowed on board, and the 4 doors remove all these panels. And the Bronco treats you to limited sun and wind, also rain and mud, an industry-first waterproof, easily cleanable marine-grade vinyl upholstery, and available rubber-like floor covering with a drain in each footwell makes cleanup a breeze. However, the Bronco Sport is a minimum air conventional SUV with a permanently attached roof and doors. There might be a sunroof option, but at least it overhangs and have been shortened and suspension hiked up to encourage owners to venture farther off the beaten trail than they might attempt in the Ford Escape. This is a beautiful interior, especially this door in the regular Bronco. It's definitely really nice. And there you can reach your hand right through there and actually touch the person. Doesn't look like a glass. But it would be really nice if they had an insert you could put in there. I think they probably do, but I'm not sure. Plenty of space, and it has that extension too in the back as well. Now, the Bronco Sport has always been characterized as a baby Bronco, and those 105.1-inch wheelbase measures between 2 and 4 door Broncos 100.4 and 116.1-inch chassis. Its length, height, and width all measure smaller than the 2-door big Bronco as well. We can get in all the dimensions, but we're going to skip that. It should be noted, however, that the Bronco Sport overall length is nearly usable body space, where the big Bronco length measurements are to the rear mounted spare tire. So that's what makes the difference. Now, although there used to be there's very few common parts, the Ford SUVs do share a mission, being capable of performing at or near the top of their respective segments in terms of off-road prowess. Now, we expect the off-road optimized 2021 Ford Bronco Badlands model to be able to keep up with the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon or the Moab, and we expect the Bronco Sport Badlands variant to be able to run with the trail-rated Trailhawk variant of the Jeep Renegade, Compass, or Cherokee. Of those three Jeep nameplates, we expect the Cherokee to pose the greatest challenge to the Ford Bronco, especially the Bronco Sport. Now, Ford Aftermarket Accessory Groups will support the Bronco models with adventure gear to facilitate tailgating, camping, fishing, biking, and other leisure pursuits. There's at least 200 aftermarket accessories available for the big Bronco and 100 for the Bronco Sport. Now, you have to ask yourself which one is better. So, that's basically going to be up to you and what your needs are. So, if you want power, if you want the big, if your needs, are for more off-road ruggedness and what your taste is, you go for the regular Bronco. But if not, if you like a type of person that like the Ford Escape and you don't want to venture and you want to stay underneath the $25,000 mark, then the Bronco Sport is your choice. And, having the Bronco Sport won't be able to go everywhere like the big Bronco, so that's something that you have to consider. But it's definitely going to be able to keep up with the unibody Jeep off-road. The Bronco Sport will be able to do that. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to bring a lot to the. It's bringing a lot to the game, and boy, oh boy, do they look good. Now, we know about the regular Bronco and how it's going to start at $30,000, but let's look at the Bronco Sport a little bit closely. Now, the Ford Bronco Sport is going to do more for a Ford bottom line than the Bronco. Now, and then when I say bottom line, I guess they're going to be planning on selling more. So the 2021 Ford Bronco is and the Bronco Sport is definitely a momentous vehicle. It has great hardware, and they're made for one purpose: to stick it to the Jeep. And the Bronco Sport shares 80% of its parts with the Escape. Ford says you might see that as proof it's not a real Bronco, but it also proof of strategic planning by Ford. That's a ton of parts that don't have to be designed from scratch. At most, they've been modified, optimized, or tuned to fit the new products. So it's just smart on Ford part to build the baby Bronco. It all depends upon your needs on which one that you want. And this is, the Bronco family right here, what you see here. The Bronco Sport has the right look and the right hardware to attract customers who don't want a big Bronco or can't afford one. And it accomplished this without alienating serious off-roaders and Bronco fans. Ford has done it with a massive heap of existing parts that'll keep costs down and margins high. The big Bronco will get all the attention, but the Bronco Sport will bring home the bacon, in other words. So that's just their logo. I mean, just the way that they're going about it. And they want everybody to welcome into the Bronco family. Again, it's Zale Automotive Reviews. Thanks for watching. Remember, share, like, and subscribe.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more interesting videos.